look at the 4 quadrants here. So when we look at our 4 quadrants, we know that in the first quadrant, all the sine, cos and tan, they're all positive, because whether we're doing opposite over adjacent or opposite over hypotenuse, we've got all positive values here. When we flick over to our second quadrant, only sine is positive, because we have our negative x value and our y value there. The combinations, because sine is opposite over hypotenuse and the opposite is the positive part, that means we would have positive over positive, which gives us a positive answer. And the same with tan and cos in those quadrants down here. So with the tan, we have opposite over adjacent, so negative divided by negative is a positive. Over here, cos theta is only using the adjacent, which is our positive amount there. So that's how that works. So what we can do is then find equivalent ones to we call this our reference angle, to where it is around in our quadrants, and decide if it's going to be positive or negative. So we've got some little bits of information here: cos theta, cos x, and sine theta, cos x, and tan alpha, and what their values are, and they're first quadrant angles. So it's saying find pi plus theta. So if we've got our pi on 2 up here and our pi, and we add a first quadrant angle, so an angle between 0 and 90, to pi, we're going to end up down here somewhere. So we don't know exactly what it is, but an angle in this quadrant. So if we've got sine of that angle, in that quadrant, sine is negative. So we know that it's going to be the negative version of whatever sine was equal to in the first quadrant, and we know the sine theta was 0.42, so we can say that it is negative 0.42. So we're just finding if it's going to be positive or negative depending which quadrant it's in. Now the next one, we've got cos of x plus pi, or pi plus x. So we've got our pi over here, we're adding our x to that, so same kind of scenario as we've got here. In this quadrant, tan is positive, so that means our cos is negative, so we get negative, and let's have a look what cos was, 0.7. Then here we've got pi take away alpha. So we're at pi, but then we're going back alpha. So we can put our little alpha there. So we know that in that quadrant, tan is negative. So we look at what our value was in the first quadrant, which is 0.38, and we write negative 0.38. We've happened to have 3 that end up negative. You could obviously have ones that are positive if they land in those quadrants where that ratio is positive. So always find where your angle is, which quadrant it is, decide if it's positive or negative, and then apply that sign to your answer.